Let's talk about interracial marriages. I remember the first time I saw a painting that had a white woman and a black man together. I was actually so excited. I think I don't know if I bought it or if I begged my dad to buy the painting and put it up in the house. And I was like, "That's you and mommy," you know. And I was so excited. I want to talk about Trevor Noah again. Trevor Noah, Born a Crime, his book, I really think it should be read. I still not have read it, but I watched a lot of interviews because he is my brother from another mother. My mother, who I associate as my mother, German-Romanian woman, very honorable woman, Catholic, Jewish descent. Anyway, and my father, African-American man, you know. Obviously part of the slave trade because his last name comes from royal family heritage from New York. Now, Trevor Noah's family, his father, it's the reverse. His father is a German Swiss, and his mother is a beautiful black-skinned African woman. And I remember, I'm not going to talk about that, but I will talk about if you read his book. But anyway, what I will talk about is the marriage. His mother was not allowed to hold his hand in public because he was not supposed to be hers. And it's because of that concept: black people are with black people, brown people with brown people, white people with white people. Now, if you know anything about the apartheid in Africa, specifically South Africa, it didn't get abolished until 2003. So don't tell me racism doesn't still exist, okay? That's 2003. 23 years ago? That child hasn't got their bachelor's degree yet, 23 years, okay? Understand this. So, during apartheid, for South Africa, Africa specifically went around the country, their specialists went all around the different states, different countries around the world to perfect segregation. And the way that they perfected it was, if you have interracial marriages or spouses, and they have children, the children don't belong to them because they don't look like them. So they will actually forcibly take the child away and put them into a house that they belong in because of the concept of what I just saw on here about Ali talking about bluebirds stay with bluebirds, redbirds stay with redbirds. You know, they're all birds. But that's not the truth. When I feed the birds over here, we've got the little cute birds that are sitting here with the pigeons. They may not breed together, but they still share space equally for the same thing. Now, it's for food. That's an instinctive thing. What about sex? It's an instinctive thing to desire somebody for that. So if that's also an instinct, and a Caucasian male wants to do that with me, why would our children be abominations, and why would they not be part of the concept of natural selection, which is adaptation? If we're going to talk about animalistic tendencies. Going back, so walking with his mother, he couldn't hold his mother's hand, Trevor Noah. She had to deny him in public. I didn't have that. So I can feel for Trevor Noah because he had to really have a stronghold on his emotions, especially because he was probably really confused growing up, like why he couldn't be seen with his dad. His dad had to walk across the street. His mother had to put her hand, she couldn't hold his hand in public. That is not how a family should be treated just because of interracial love. I had the luxury of being in the United States where my father and my mother could walk into a Walmart with all 4 brown kids and not have a problem. I could run across the place, hide, whatever, and, I'd get in trouble by family because I wasn't supposed to be away, but I had that luxury. I could hold my father's hand. I could hold my mother's hand. You know, and that was one of the things that got on my nerves is when I was at the college and Julie had brought Xavier. Xavier is my skin tone, and he looks just like me. I mean, spinning image. And I was just holding his hand and walking him around. This is a college campus, around Victor Valley College, and somebody gave him a dirty look. And I looked at them and I said, "Is there a problem that I'm holding this child?" And then I remember one of my friends, Ahmed, he came and he had a similar appearance as my brother. And so Ahmed was holding him because he was like, "Oh, hold me." I guess he thought it was my brother, Xavier. And so Ahmed picked him up. And I guess he realized he wasn't my brother, which is his father. And then all of a sudden he wanted to hold me. But see, this is what we need to introduce our children to, is different people, different faces, different colors, different cultures, different customs, so that they understand and learn to respect each and every one. One more thing before I get done, because it's already 6 minutes and 15 seconds. There was a situation where my father and I think we were at like a grocery store. I think it was Stater Brothers in Apple Valley. And there was a little white girl with her with her mother, who was white. And the little girl, absolute innocence. She looks at my father, looks at me, looks at her mom, does the whole routine again. And so loudly, while she's pointing at my dad, she looks at me and yells, "Mom, he's black." I laughed. My dad laughed. The lady was terrified. Why is that? I'm going to tell you why. Because in her opinion, in her subjective experiences in reality, her child was calling my father black as if it was a bad thing. As if, don't call him the N-word kind of concept. And that's the biggest issue. Children don't think like this. Once you start teaching them this, that's when they start enforcing it into their lives. So we need to have this interrelation. We need to address different colors with our children at early ages when they start asking these questions. Why is he black? Why is she brown? Why is her nose big? Why is his ears bigger? You know, we need to be educated parents, teachers, counselors, whatever you want to call it, to give them the actual truth. That's why I believe in transparency. So I just want to say that this has already gotten really long, but remember, apartheid in South Africa supposedly was abolished 2003. Can you imagine how they feel right now, 20 years later? It's like Jim Crow laws all over again.